decided to migrate from our village, a walking journey into Ethiopia to a refugee camp called Kudzie. And I was there since 1998. I was around 7 years old, I think, when we came.
Wow, to Ethiopia, when you moved to Ethiopia. And you said it was a walking distance, so did you literally walk into Ethiopia?
Correct.
How long did it take you?
About a week.
A week?
So I think it was over.
Wow. Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Kudzie Mapiye, and on this channel I do videos about my life living here in Australia, and I also share different life lessons that I've learned along the way. In today's video I have a special guest, Sebit, who is an immigrant in Australia, and we're going to be diving deep into his immigration story. Welcome, Sebit.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole.
I'm very honored to have you as my very first guest on this channel.
I'm glad to hear and glad to be here.
Thank you. I know you're very busy, and you've availed time to be here today. And we're just going to be talking about how you came to Australia and how your life in Australia has been so far.
Sure thing.
And just a bit of an intro for the audience. So you are a career professional. Yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
My name is Sebit. I am an urban planner with almost a decade of experience in that space. I'm also very much a community servant. I've been serving the community for the better half of the last decade and a half since I started university. I thought it was also the right time to start giving back. So ever since I've been serving the community during the after hours and working full time.
Wow.
And now I'm a family man, so it's everything.
You're a family man, recently your dad, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, you're not just serving the community, you're actually like, you are in an office, you're the outgoing president of the South Sudanese Community Association in Queensland.
That's correct, yes. I've been the president of the South Sudanese community for the last 2 years. Before that, I was a public relations officer.
Wow.
And prior to that, I served in so many different committees to be in this space. So it's been a wonderful 2 years of serving the community at the highest level possible. And we've been able to do wonderful projects to engage the community, our young people, and connect, be really the bridge between our emerging community and the mainstream Australians.
That's awesome. And talking about the South Sudanese community, so you are South Sudanese yourself?
Yes.
All right, so as were you born in South Sudan?
Yes, I was born in South Sudan, a place called Akoba.
Akoba?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so can you take us through your journey from South Sudan to Australia? How old were you when you moved to Australia, and why did you move to Australia?
When I came to Australia, I was around 12, 13.
Yeah.
But let's go back a few years. I was born in southern Sudan, in a region, a state called Jonglei. It's not too far from Ethiopia. It was walking distance. So my family decided, look, it wasn't right at the time. There was a lot of insecurities and wasn't very stable. At the time, it was Sudan. Yeah. We have one of the biggest countries in Africa, I would say. So there was a conflict that has been ongoing for almost half a century, which led to many people fleeing Sudan and southern part of Sudan, going to the nearest refugee camps. And our family was one of those families who decided to migrate from our village, a walking journey into Ethiopia to a refugee camp called Kudzie. And I was there since 1998. I was around 7 years old, I think, when we came.
Wow, to Ethiopia, when you moved to Ethiopia. And you said it was a walking distance, so did you literally walk into Ethiopia?
Correct.
How long did it take you?
About a week.
A week?
So I think it was over a week worth of walking, looking back.
Yeah.
It's a journey that probably by car probably will take no more than a day. But given, the situation where there was no vehicles and no roads, it's just a walk.
Yeah, and so just so we can really understand the picture, so you were walking how many people were you walking with? Was it just your immediate family, or were you walking as a wider group of people?
No, just my immediate family. So I remember mom came to get us, me and my younger siblings, there were about 4 of us.
Yeah.
And then we had a few relatives with us who helped us with the journey, because we were children. I think I was 7, so my younger brother would have been like 3, and my sister at the time would have been like months old. She would be a month, and we were on this journey. So we had our older brother who was, I guess, starting to enter his teens, early teens. So we were able to walk, at least 2 of us.
Yeah.
The younger one needed to be carried, so we had uncles and aunts to help us through that journey. And the purpose was to leave the village, go to a refugee camp, and hopefully go to a school in the refugee camp. That didn't quite work out, so we were there for almost 3 to 4 years. And then it wasn't working out. It was very unstable. There was no education, what we thought. So we moved to a town within Ethiopia called Gambela, where we were able to commence education, started grade 1. But then thankfully, about a year or 2 years later, we were able to get a resettlement to Australia through the humanitarian, plus, upon the request of my uncle who was residing in Australia at the time, he sponsored, saying my family was out there and they needed to be resettled here, and he would be able to assist a bit better. So through that humanitarian visa, through the UN, I think, United Nations refugees, and I forgot the full acronym.
Is it the UNHCR?
That's correct. That's the one. So I think through them we were able to resettle to Australia. So we came here at the time as permanent residents in 2005, and from there we started our education journey with my whole family, which was great.
Wow! So was the whole family able to come over?
Yes. So
That's
basically, my mom and all my siblings were able to come over. Unfortunately, my father passed away in the refugee camp at the time. Sort of things. So we were able to come here, and I think that's probably what made the journey a bit more interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Can you talk us through how you felt when you first entered Australia, like the first few days in Australia? I can imagine the culture shock. I came when I was 20 years old, but I had a major culture shock. I can only imagine how it was like for you as an 11-year-old. Can you talk us through some of the things you experienced?
Look, I think at the time when we arrived, I would have been 12, maybe going to 13. So I was at that age where technically I should be going to high school or grade 7. But I had 0 English. I could not even spell my name. So I had no idea what I was expecting. What I knew was that we were going to go to school. I knew we were going to get enrolled in school, but I didn't know what that would look like. We had expectation of the idea of USA, America, like everyone thought we were going to America. But when we came to Australia, it was interesting because you drove past the city. You're like, oh, okay, we're not staying here. We kept going. And Brisbane is, has one of those highways. You come from the airport, and you have to drive, along the river, right? So the inner city bypass. So that drive going towards southern part of Brisbane, you definitely come by the city. You see the river on one side, and you see this high-rise building on one side, and then you go right past it. We got so when we did that, it was a bit like, so this is not where we're staying. We went into the suburbs, and you realize how laid back it is. You hardly ever seen any children's coming out, so we didn't know what to do. No kids were playing in the streets. And if the kids were there at the park, and it's not that easy to just engage with them because we had 0 English, so we didn't know what to do. But we had a big family, so we were able to engage with our own siblings and play with ourselves. And until we got enrolled in school a few weeks later, went to a school called Mapiye, where the sole purpose was to learn how to speak English and the basics of ABCs and learn how to read and write. And about a year later, I was able to start my high school journey. So I started grade 8 So basically I skipped the whole of grade 7, 0 to grade 7 and off to grade 8.
So how did you fill in that huge educational gap to go straight into high school? Because high school is not easy.
Yeah.
So what happened in between? How did they manage to compensate for, that education?
I think curiosity helped, but at the same time, the school that was dedicated to teaching all these migrants how to speak and read English, that helps a lot, because I went to a school that was so diverse. You have people from so many different parts of the world who cannot speak English either. So you see, pale white people and they can't speak English. So you're like, ooh, okay,
that's
it's not just
mind-blowing.
me. So that was very interesting. You meet people from Brazil, from various parts of Europe, and some of them came as refugees, some of them came as migrants, who were all just there to learn how to speak and read English.
And so, how long were you there?
I was there for about a year and a half. I think about a year and a half I was able to get my, basics right, read at a grade 1, 2 level. And then when I was able to do that, then I got sent up to high school. And in high school, we couldn't join the mainstream classes for about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
In fact, it ended up being my whole high school journey. We couldn't join the whole mainstream English classes. They had English extensions, and you have like normal English, and then you have the English for ESL, which is English as a second language for us.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of classes we were able to go into. But I had great passion for math and the science, so I was really trying to get into those mainstream subjects. So thankfully, during my last couple of years of high school, I was able to study the kind of subjects I was keen to study, like physics and math and
the more technical subjects.
Yeah, religion studies. So that really opened my mind a little bit more for the last couple of years of high school.
I think it's quite extraordinary how you missed pretty much the whole of primary school and only had like a year and a half to catch up. You go into high school and you have this passion for technical subjects, and you're now a town planner.
Yes.
So how did you go through the normal years of high school in like the period, or was it extended? Did you take a longer time, or did you just take the normal time?
Well, I went to several high school, and that may sort of help. So after I left from Mapiye and I had my basics, went to a high school called Zimbabwean State High, which, grade 8 and 9, it was a blur. I cannot tell you what we learned.
I can imagine.
But I was looking forward to going to school because I had great friends and I loved playing basketball. So that I had a reason to go back to school every single day. And during classes, just put my head down and try to get through the lessons. And then when I left Sunnybank, we moved to different parts in a place called Logan. Because we were using public transport, my mom wasn't driving, so we had to go to the nearest public school. So our school got changed. I went to Kudzie State High, and they kept me down. I think that was the turning point for me.
They kept you down a level?
Yeah, that's right.
And
so instead of going to, I think I just finished grade 9, I was expecting to go to grade 10. But I could barely, read your whole page. I was going to school just to play sport and, so that when they kept me down, I got really pissed off with my parents for doing that. But I think 2 years later, I was really appreciative, because what that did is that I ended up becoming the oldest person in grade 9, and I knew I was repeating it. So there was this part of me that says I should not be failing like last time, because
you had the drive.
That's correct. So this time it was different. I acted a little bit more mature because I was older than most kids in the class. And outside in the playgrounds, I was socializing with those in year 10 and 11 because I knew those were my actual age group.
You could relate to them a little bit more.
That's right.
And I want to find out, as an older child, as a foreign child, in the school system, how was your experience in the classroom from the teachers and from other students?
Look, the experience was, different depending on how you view it. But the teachers who were teaching in the ESL subjects, they're really friendly, and they have this, I guess, belief that maybe they're doing it because they're nice or they really love to see this multiculturalism. But then at the same time, you get to see that, like, you don't know, so we'll sort of walk you very slowly, and treat you like you have no idea.
So you can really feel that, the difference from other kids.
That's it. Yeah. But then again, I think years later, I was not really for that because it wasn't challenging me.
Yeah.
You get treated like you're not supposed to know, so it's okay if you don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas, I had this feeling in me that, well, I think I should be pushed.
Yeah.
Getting a C shouldn't be celebrated.
Yeah, you should aim higher.
Yeah, we should aim
so
higher.
I'm curious to know, what was it that was driving you? Because, like, for a child, I mean, even for an adult, for a child to have that level of determination is quite unusual, So what was it driving you internally to achieve and to aim higher and not to accept that a C is okay? What was going through your mind at that time, and what were you looking forward to?
Look, and I think this is where we credit our parents. It's hard to do it sometimes because we only hear negatives when they're raising us. But
African parents,
right? Classic African. But I do appreciate my mother though, because every now and then, on top of all the lectures and efforts to improve us and get us to be better people, we've seen the struggle of her being a single mom and raising almost 9 children by herself. So we see that, so we want to improve that situation for her where possible. So that keeps me going, and the fact that I'm the second older, as soon as my brother was able to finish high school, he went off to Northern Queensland to study at James Cook University. That meant I had to step up as the older brother now. So basically I had to get mature much quicker. I knew I had responsibility to support mom. So that kept me grounded. But then at the same time, there's a few stories that she would tell of my father, who she would say that he was so smart, he was a really excellent student during his studies. As soon as he finished high school, he was teaching in all his villages, and every now and then you meet new people from southern part of Sudan, and they would say, "Oh, you're still Paraba? Oh, I know Paraba. He was my, teacher, and he taught us here and he taught us there." So that
you had that role model.
That was
you had something to inspire you.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to the importance of inspiration, which I think is important, especially for immigrant children, because if you don't see a lot of representation, you need to be able to draw from the role models that you know of, even family members. So well done to your mom for being able to inspire you in that way, to try. And talk us through your journey, like when you finished high school and moving forward. How did that go?
So finishing high school, I remember I really enjoyed geography in year 10 and 11. So I looked forward to that. But the school that I went to complete my high school, which is year 12, they didn't offer geography. It was a much smaller school, so the subjects were limited, but I was able to study religions, which opened my mind. So I was raised in the church, so it was really interesting to learn about Islam and all the other religions that are world religions out there. So that was great. And then as I was finishing high school, I was very athletic, so I was into basketball and I ran cross country. So I was a national representative at that level. So that was great. So being an athlete, and that gave me confidence, and I was relevant in one way or another among some cohorts. So that gave me something to look forward to. And then I knew I would graduate, and I said to myself, if I get the marks that I need, then I'd be keen to go to university. If I don't, I'm happy to start a trade and hopefully start making some money.
So I take it you got the points that you wanted.
I got the point that I wanted, and I was interested in architecture or engineering. But then I came across town planning in like, that end of school yearbook that gives you the subjects. And as I was scrolling through it, working out, I knew I would love to be engineer, but I did not study maths B and C in my last year because I was very much just doing sports. So I knew I would have to do like a bridging course over the summer to, get my math score back up. Or alternatively, I could enter the university with almost any course, and then a year later, I could enter the course that I really wanted to. So then I saw town planning, and this was 2011, and South Sudan was at the verge of becoming independent at that time. So I had this dream in my head, like town planning. Can you imagine having the knowledge to plan a whole town and then going back to your village and making it the best plan because there's nothing planned yet? So imagine having all the right location for your hospital, for the industrial site, for the wildlife, for agriculture and all that stuff. So having that knowledge to go there and have this zoning layout for different parts and hopefully get the public transportation right at first, that would be amazing. So that inspired me to get in and got into uni at UQ and fell in love with the whole town planning, possibilities. And my lecture was very inspiring, so I was like,
so you're like one of those really engaged students. You had a vision, like you had something. And I find that when you go to uni, for a lot of students, they don't have the study, like what they want to study and head with a vision. Usually their parents have told them to go a certain way. So I think you're pretty lucky to have that drive and inspiration that you could actually enjoy the study and you could see what you could do for the community. That's really interesting. I want to touch on your schooling a little bit more. So you shared with us how life was at school and your experience. How was life at home as immigrants, where you have a whole family that has relocated and they're new in a country? How was everyone navigating their own personal experiences at the time?
For us, I think it was good. We had, our whole family, we lived in one house throughout the whole time. So we were able to, there's a lot of our children, but we could share rooms, so everyone could, pair up. And then on the weekends, we had places to go. So mom, prearranged that, so we go to church definitely. And as a new community, as an emerging community, there was always functions on the weekends that were, South Sudanese related.
So you met other people in the community.
That's correct.
Were they in the surrounding areas where you lived?
At the beginning, yes.
So it was easy to
connect. But I think the last 5 to 10 years has been a lot harder because people are scattered due to rent prices. So people could not stay where they were staying when they arrived.
And what did you enjoy most about life in Australia?
The opportunities, access to opportunities, and appreciating I don't know how you would term this, but appreciating the fact that there is stability across the board, and there is predictabilities in terms of what can happen. So you really get to enjoy that, and then you take advantage of the fact that most people in Australia have this awesome friendly face, right? So at least you good mate, you have those greetings at first. It's very easy to maybe start a conversation because everyone in Australia would say they have this nice friendly face to it, so that gives you a level of comfort. So I think that was one of the things that I think stood out for me.
That's great. And what did you find challenging?
I think what I found challenging at the beginning was learning the language, and then once I think the language was good, was now trying to find a space where we can be comfortable. I think that was one of the things that we sort of find.
Really integrating into the community, into the wider Australia. Australian culture.
That's right. And I think it's also realizing that maybe you don't have to become what you're seeing. You don't have to join, but you could come with your, with your culture. Like you could bring your culture and introduce it. And I think that's something that I did not realize until much later.
Your own culture.
Yeah, that's right. So recognizing, okay, look, where I come from, my story does matter, and I should find a way to introduce it so these people are also aware of what I could bring to the table, as opposed to wanting to join them and forgetting everything.
Having your own identity, having a strong sense of self.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And thank you so much, Sebit, for sharing your story. I am feeling like really inspired, and I didn't know that you skipped a whole part of your primary schooling. So I think that's just amazing to have come this far and to be a leader, in the community, and to be, someone who's quite respected in the community. And, I want you to share from your experience of life in Australia, moving to Australia from a different country, from a different culture. What would you like to tell people who are considering moving to Australia at the moment and they don't know what to expect? What words of encouragement can you share with them?
I would say if you have, the great opportunity of coming to Australia, resettling here, come with an open mind, but also come with an idea in place in terms of what you want to achieve for yourself and the people around you. I think it's really important to have that in place. A lot of us who came here as refugees had no expectation. We had no idea where we were coming into. So whatever the situation was, by default it would be better than where we come from. But that can quickly change when you just focus on the challenges of learning the language, challenges of selling yourself to get a job. When I say selling yourself, it's like, being able to promote your abilities.
Put yourself out there.
Being able to promote your abilities and being confident in what you could do. I think, we didn't know that, and then coming here, we quickly, I think we didn't seek advice from the right people, but what you could do. For example, if you are able to come here and you're able to speak English and you get your basic right, you're able to get a job, well, maybe learn about what that job would do for you properly. Like one of the things that I would have loved to understood better was like get a job, and once you get a job, make sure you understand what kind of taxes you're paying. Not only that, you are entitled to super. What does that actually mean? Because a lot of us do have different various jobs, but then we end up signing for different kind of supers. So if if I got educated properly at the time when I was like 15 and I was doing my first job, so that means for the last 15 years I've always had a job. Right, but if you look at my super right now, it's like I have not worked.
And just for the people who don't know what super is, it's superannuation, which is like your retirement fund that your employer pays money into while you're working.
That's correct. So essentially, like I think only about 3 years ago when I came across The Richest Man in Babylon, where he encourages people to save 10% of everything you own, because 10% of everything you own belongs to you. You should save that for many years in advance when you're not able to work. Now, Australia,
and that time will come.
So I think super takes almost 10%. The employee will take that by, according to what has been passed. Whether you like it or not, that 10% needs to be put away, 9 to 10%, and that's for you. But if you don't look after it, or the people who are receiving that money will do their best to look after it, but once you change super, those fees will quickly erode that. So I think if I knew that, I think early on, that may have had a different understanding, and if we, maybe have an understanding of how we could use money better in those early stages, because I think when we come, we don't have a lot. We could really do better. We could say better.
More financial education.
More financial education at the start will probably do you a will do you really well.
Thank you very much, Sebit, for being so generous to share your journey with us. Truly inspiring. I hope you've enjoyed that story, and we'll have more videos lined up for you. I'll see you in the next video.